My name is Nitin Khanna. I'm the head of Cognitus Industry Solutions for Regulated Industries, and I'm joined by Paul Gleeson, Senior Vice President of Alliances and Partnerships at Icertis. And today we're going to talk about the evolution of contracting in regulated industry. And this is an important topic looking into the economic conditions in 2022. Hi, Paul. Do you want to give a brief introduction about Icertis?
Hey, Nitin. How are you today?
Excellent.
That's great. It's thrilled to be here. So, look, thank you very much for the opportunity to spend a little bit of time talking about all things contract. And, of course, Icertis is the global leader in contract intelligence systems. I think we're well suited to have a very interesting conversation today. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So, Paul, my first question is, what is your take on the current scenario of high volatility and high inflation and how this is impacting industries, businesses in commercial and regulated space?
There are multiple issues that we're seeing today. First of all, you have the challenge of managing scale. And when you think about the pressures in organizations around high inflation and what that means, it really is forcing a lot of organizations to look into all of their agreements that they have to ensure that they actually understand what the contractual implications of this hyperinflation cycle that we're going through right now has on their businesses. You see, every dollar in and out of a business is underpinned by a contract, especially in a regulated industry. For companies of all size, it's increasingly urgent for them to understand the existing provisions they have, such as cost of living adjustments, and even consumer price index adjustments, as any of these can be applied and could have an impact in the profitability of a business or increase the revenue of that business or, even more importantly, trigger a supply chain event. It's not uncommon for enterprises to have hundreds of thousands of contracts, even millions. So you have to understand exactly what's in each and every one of these. And the only way you can do that is at scale with a contract intelligence system like Icertis. So contract intelligence provides the insights and analysis into the company's portfolio of contracts that really will help them brace into this current climate of change that we're going through right now.
Yeah, well said, Paul. And I know Icertis is the leader and has created the market of CLM, and Gartner ranking is the leader in the Magic Quadrant as well. How do you see the role the contracts play in securing the supply chain in today's markets? And what is the intersection you see in contracts and the risks and due diligence around it?
Good question. There's several supply chain roadmaps that we can see, but, and there's obviously multiple possible solutions. But to us, it all begins with security. You need to know what's buried in your contracts to secure and guarantee an undisputed supply chain so it can function properly and really ensure your organization is prepared for the future. And when you think about your contracts, you need to be thinking about the risks. And this intersection is crucial because governance, risk compliance, and all the control processes associated with that all have their data foundations inside the contracts. So how do you prepare your organization to secure your supply chain? Well, we have a methodology we like to talk about, which is taking the steps to proactively manage risk through the contracting lifecycle. So you look at the due diligence, you approach that through the contracts at the very beginning of your working with a supplier. You focus more on risk identification. Now, this can be with artificial intelligence, or it could be how you identify a risk through integrations with third-party alerts, such as Dun & Bradstreet. Develop questionnaires and automation techniques to basically ensure risk is identified in a way that is understood readily by yourself and your company. And then, of course, once you've identified that risk, the next step is doing what we call a risk assessment, making sure that the risks, not all risks are equal. And so you need to actually understand the potential influence that has on your organization and indeed how you actually weight and scorecard that prioritizes how you're actually going to deal with it, which then brings us, of course, to risk remediation. So you can alternate the language of a contract. You can look at the preferential terms that you have in your contracts, or indeed the most critical way, and maybe so severe, is dealing with termination as well, if a risk becomes unpalatable for your organization. Finally, the other aspect about contracts is that you need to monitor and continue to look at the position that you have. Risk is not static, it's constantly evolving, and you need to look at the provisions within your contracts to proactively manage these areas of concern to ensure you get the best result for your organization.
Thanks, Paul. That's actually the great answer on that. And talking about static and dynamic contracts, we know typically in regulated space, especially government contracts, there's many different variations and flavors, right? There's fixed price contracts with different award fees, incentive fees. There's performance-based contracts. There's cost plus, time and material. What are the more, contract types that you're seeing in the market and that have evolved from being more static towards more dynamic contracts and giving the businesses certain strategic advantages, one versus the other?
That's interesting because, we actually believe that not only have the contracting methods evolved as you described in recent times, but so too have the way you actually have to manage a contract, especially for regulated industries and markets, right? So we've actually at Icertis developed solutions for our clients to really drive the mutual compliance. One of the things that we've seen evolve quite a lot in recent times is the idea of having mutual obligation management and the need to collaborate on contracts in general. So, we've actually created a collaboration portal, for example, to allow outside stakeholders access our platform so that you can have your stakeholders as well as you review and negotiate contracts, which is so critical because we're often seeing the contracts, particularly with some of the newer contract styles that are coming up, wanting to manage change and scope through contractual contracting management processes. So this is an important development that we're taking advantage of through our collaboration portal. Risk management, I talked a little about earlier, is critical as well. Governments are expecting suppliers to have transparent risk management approach to, and as they are seeing, this is actually a joint responsibility. Risk management applications is minimum table stakes, in our opinion, that you have to have a configurable system that can actually manage risks throughout the contract lifecycle that's very transparent to the suppliers and indeed the government agencies as well. Self-registration, onboarding and capability suppliers is also critical things for government. But if you think about where a lot of the governments are going right now with the contracts and the plethora of agreements that they're looking to establish, you need to also think about how do you actually onboard legacy contracts as well and manage those. So the need for discovering using artificial intelligence to look at existing contracts, to be able to internally consume those contracts and understand the actual intents, the risks, the obligations is critically important and a feature that Icertis is very proud that we've actually developed in recent years and actually are the leaders of now, because this is one of the biggest challenges that we're seeing in the government space is that they're looking at having these paper or legacy systems digitized so they can be actually managed in real time along with all the current contracts as well. Finally, it all comes down to, in our opinion, obligation management. With really complex obligations that we're seeing with a lot of the government agencies that we work with on a day-to-day basis, these can be extremely difficult to manage. And so you need to have the ability to use a machine learning capability along with your artificial intelligence to really extract what those obligations are and ensure in a full spirit of transparency that those obligations are fully managed and mitigate any potential risks associated with that. Standard government contracts are really expecting this sort of level of engagement. And for us, what we're seeing right now is the Icertis ICI solution is really becoming a de facto standard for a lot of the governments that we're working with.
Thanks for your feedback, Paul. Yeah, so what we're seeing in S/4HANA transformation or the ERP modernization of businesses, that customers are and businesses are looking for that quantum jump and tenfold efficiency gains. Icertis definitely is leading in that space with core functionalities, AI extraction, and also integrating that with the S/4HANA RISE platform. Cognitus builds industry solutions in the regulated space, and we are connecting Icertis through the SAP BTP stack to bring in the live connectivity for push and pull of contract creation to different contract modifications all the way to contract closeout processes. Bring in value for customers to get the full value of the ICI platform in a more fixed scope of deployment, in a fixed time frame and effort, and to reduce risk of Icertis and SAP deployment. Thanks for your time, Paul. I think we'll have another follow-on session on this podcast series and dive deeper into certain contracting types and look at pros and cons of one versus the other. Thanks for your time today, and I look forward to our follow-on sessions. Do you want to have any closing remarks for our audience?
Thank you so much for having us here. And look, Cognitus is a fantastic partner for Icertis. And exactly as you laid out, the challenges and opportunities that we're seeing around the S/4HANA adaptation and things, it's super exciting for all environment. So thank you so much for the opportunity to spend some time with you and your team today.
Thanks, everybody.